arrived here at a ranger station in Namdak province, which is in northeastern Vietnam. So we haven't actually been in to see the bears, but if you want to come in with me, we'll start to get the first look of our 3 newest bears for the Vietnam Bear Rescue Centre. Come on. So one of the first things we do when we arrive on site is our veterinary team and our bear care team will assess the bears. One of the things that we're looking for is the condition of the bears and how well they are, because ideally what we would like to do is to connect one of our transport cages to the farm cages that you can see behind me and have the bears voluntarily walk in. It means that we don't need to put them through an anaesthetic, which is quite a lot for their bodies to go through. So there's actually 3 bears here. From what we've been told, there is 1 male bear and 2 female bears. We don't know a lot about them yet. We don't know their age. We just know that they were held on a farm here in the province. So right now we're standing in the Forest Protection Department building, or the like the Park Rangers building. And these guys, they've had the bears for the last couple of weeks. We were actually asked to rescue these bears in late March, but unfortunately, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, it meant that the rescue was delayed. And so the Forest Protection Department have been looking after these bears. Now, very, very sadly, when these bears were first discovered on the farm, there were 4 bears. One of them died before the Forest Protection Department were able to confiscate them and before we were able to rescue them. And so that's why the Forest Protection Department took these 3 bears and brought them here, because they were worried that if they left them on the farm that these other 3 bears might not make it. So if we just come up a little bit closer, we'll see if we can get a good look. So the gentlemen that you can see in green are the Forest Protection Department, or the Park Rangers. Behind that green screen, Tuan Ben Dixon, our fearless Vietnam country director, is here leading the rescue. And if you come up this way, you can see Sean is just visually assessing one of the bears now. It's always really distressing to see the bears in these cages. The bear that's in the middle is quite upset right now. That's stereotypic behaviour. Hang on, darling. We'll get you out of there. It's alright. So Sean's just having a look. One of the things is we're looking to see the design of the cage to see whether or not we can safely connect our transport cage up to these farm cages, and if we can, then we'll ask the bears to take their first steps into freedom, into one of our transport cages before we bring them back. Now, the reason that these 3 bears were confiscated from the farm was because they're not microchipped. In 2005, here in Vietnam, species-specific legislation was passed which required all bears on farms to be microchipped, and so any bears who were subsequently found without a chip meant that they were illegal. And so these guys have been confiscated. Now, I would say, of course, this is purely just based on looking at least, especially this bear here that's closest to us. Looks like quite a young bear, but of course we don't know for sure. You do look young, sweetie, huh? Right. So the bear on the very left is definitely a male, I can see that. And we're going to name this beautiful boy James. James from James and the Giant Peach, Roald Dahl's famous story. about an orphan boy who climbed into a giant peach and found friendship and sanctuary. And that's exactly what this beautiful boy is about to find. There's our senior vet, Sean. You can see he's assessing the bears. If you notice Sean on his phone, we are actually uploading health records directly to the cloud right now, so that's what Sean's doing. And these other two bears, they do appear to be female. And now, keeping with the fairy tale theme, because although their life to this point hasn't been a fairy tale at all, we hope that we're going to change that for these amazing bears. These two girls' names will be Alice from Alice in Wonderland and Bun, which is a Vietnamese fairy tale about a Princess Bun who was the daughter of the King of Heaven. And so 3 fairy tale bears. And here comes our rescue truck. I'm just going to back up so you can see. Our rescue truck is just reversing in. So these cages, the Forest Protection Department wouldn't ordinarily have bears here. These cages are the cages that James and Bun and Alice would have lived on in the farms. We don't know how long yet they were on that farm. Hey Sean, what do you think so far?
So the little girl here is quite calm and just watching us go on. The other two are quite stereotypic in this environment. Overall, they look to be in okay joining us immediately. So I'm just looking out for any scars, problems going on in them, anything we need to immediately be aware, and then we'll catch up with the team. My guess is we're probably going to TC transfer them. They'll guide me on that because they're the experts at loading these bears.
Fantastic, thanks Sean. Okay, so that sounds good from our senior vet. He thinks the bears look like they are in reasonable health, although some of that won't be for sure until we're able to get a better up-close look at them. It's heartbreaking to see the bears like this. This is a frightening situation for them. There's a lot going on, to be perfectly honest. There's a lot of sounds, there's a lot of new people, but I promise you guys it's going to get better. So Kat, our vet nurse, just in the middle there, she's coming in. We're going to give the bears some distraction. Guy, our bear team supervisor as well. This might be the first taste of sweet, sweet honey that this precious girl's ever had. Oh, she loves it. I just can't imagine, her little nose must be on fire, and her tongue as well, with the absolute joy of all that sweetness. You can see Kat is just drizzling some honey on the cake. One thing that we know at Animals Asia, after so many years and over 600 bears rescued across Vietnam and China, is that these bears, we can win their trust and we can earn their trust, and we will do it. So although right now this is all an overwhelming experience for them, I can promise them that it's going to get better. just a matter of hours, we're going to have these beautiful 3 bears back at the sanctuary, and really a lifetime of care begins. Oh, what a sweetheart. This little girl is so cautiously looking around. So I can see slowly but surely, Cat at the back there is winning over James. He is frightened, but he has stopped pacing to have a lick of honey every now and then, which is really heartwarming to see. Okay, girl. Got Twan Bendixson, our country director here. Just working with Twan and Guy, making a solid plan to get these guys safely out of here. It's confronting to see these bears like this, I must admit, especially when you can see that they are distressed, but things will get better. Just in the process of unloading our transport cages. So this is one of the cages that we're going to transfer the bears into for a safe journey home before they're loaded back up onto this truck to go back to Tam Dao National Park, where we are at the Vietnam Bear Rescue Centre. I can see Bianca's just asked whether or not they think, or whether or not they know something positive is happening. I think this little girl on the end does. I really do. I think it's going to take us some time to win the trust and the faith of James and the female bear in the middle. This is the hard, heartbreaking reality of the legacy of bear farming. These bears, when we get them, are broken. They're broken in body and broken in mind and broken in spirit. And to see the bears like this, it's hard to keep it together, to be honest. But I know that we can win these guys. I can promise you that in just, months from now, we will see these guys going out into the enclosure, foraging, playing with other bears, and laying in the sunshine. So already, Kat is making amazing progress at the back with James and the female bear in the middle. I know it's really distressing to see this for everybody watching around the world. It's almost unbearable to see it in person. But if there is a better demonstration of the horrors of bear ball farming, I don't know what is. This is the reality. This is what the bears go through. Days of stereotypic behavior like this. Already though, Guy is making progress with James here. Every now and then he'll stop and he will take a little lick of honey, and slowly and patiently and always at his time, we will win him over. So there's going to be a little bit of a bang in a moment. That's just us unloading the transport cage to take Alice and James and Bun back home. Okay, for anybody who's just joined the live stream, Animals Asia's Vietnam Bear Rescue Centre has just come down to Namdak province on the northeastern coast of Vietnam to rescue 3 bears that are temporarily being housed at the Forest Protection Department here in the province. So the Forest Protection Department is similar to park rangers in Australia or the UK or the US. So actually these 3 bears were confiscated from a farm at the end of March. And in fact, the Forest Protection Department asked us then to come and rescue the bears. But unfortunately, because of the COVID-19 pandemic and because of needing to follow social distancing and travel restriction requirements from the authorities, our rescue plans were delayed. Unfortunately, there were 4 bears on the farm, but one of the bears passed away. Now, the Forest Protection Department, they did the right thing. They were worried that if they were to leave these 3 bears on the farm, that we might lose all of them, and so they confiscated them and brought them here to the ranger station in their farm cages. And so that's where we are right now. We've just arrived, and we are just making plans to be able to transfer these bears into one of our transport cages for the trip back to the Vietnam Bear Rescue Centre, around a 3-hour journey. So life is really, it's not been a fairy tale by any stretch of the imagination for these bears, but in hopes that their future is the fairy tale that they've always dreamed of. We've given them 3 names from 3 famous fairy tales. James, the male bear on the left, named after Roald Dahl's James and the Giant Peach. And then the 2 females, although we haven't identified both of the girls yet, but one of them is in the middle and one is on the right hand side, will be Bun and Alice. Alice, of course, from Alice in Wonderland, and Bun from a Vietnamese fairy tale. A few people I know on the live stream have commented how distressing it is to see the bears like this, and I can't agree with you more. I can't tell you how our hearts are breaking, but also filled with resolve and determination to get these bears home. This is the legacy of bear bile farming. This is the reality. This is what the bears face day after day for up to 30 years caged like this to be extracted from. So we're just going to make a plan. So I'm going to swing across. The team at the moment are just gathering to make a plan for cage loading. So their team supervisor Guy is leading the plan. So you can tell she's liaising with our country director Tuan on how we're going to get these bears safely out. Looks like we're going to start with James on the left, and then both of the females thereafter. So one thing we know from these cage transfers, sometimes it can take the bears some time to build up the bravery to walk into one of our transport cages. But one of the underpinnings of everything that we do when we rehabilitate these bears at Animals Asia is that we let them do everything at their own pace. There's never any force. We never pressure them to do anything. And so what we will do is we will marry our transport cage up to the farm cage, and then at his own time we will quietly and gently ask James to walk inside the transport cage, and it'll be his first steps of freedom. Alright, so we have a plan. We're going to start with James, the only male bear in this rescue. What's going to happen is Tuan, their team supervisor, is going to hop up on top of our transport cage, lift the door, and then Guy will be at the back of the transport cage on the outside and ask him to come in. And then we will follow that same system with each of the 3 bears. And it will be very quiet and controlled and very, very slow. So, of course, we are right now dealing with 3 frightened and wild bears in their behavior. They're still very much wild animals. And so everything that we're doing right now has to be very calm and controlled and deliberate. We can't rush in and do anything. We need to make sure that bear safety and human safety is absolute paramount in everything we do now. So we're just getting everything set up to be able to transfer the bears. Hang on, babies. I can hear some popping vocalizations from the bears, almost like a clucking noise because they're nervous. So you can see our transport cage has just been moved towards James's farm cage. I think if we stand back here quietly, we should be able to watch this process. So Kat is just distracting the girls here. Looks like she's got a lovely mixture of condensed milk and honey. Now Tuan Bear Team Supervisor is just coming up with a system so he can connect our transport cage to the farm cage, and also to create handles on the door of the farm cage so he can safely lift it. Oh my goodness. Guy Bear Team Supervisor is at the back there, and I don't know, can you see at home our beautiful James right on the end there, who has been so upset since we got here. Right now he's laying down on his tummy and he is drinking honey from a spoon. It's hard to describe what that feels like to see that, but I'm sure that you can feel it at home as well. Slowly, slowly, we're going to win their trust. go. So our transport cage is just being attached to James's farm cage now. And again, safety is paramount in all of this. We can't rush. We need to make sure that we have a solid plan. Our team by now are a well-oiled machine when it comes to bear rescues, having rescued over 600 bears across Vietnam and China in Animals Asia. Our team really know what they're doing. Absolute experts when it comes to this stuff. So you can see Sean there with the smallest female. She seems quite taken by Sean. Looks like she's having some dried fruit. Twan's just hopping up on top of our transport cage, and right now, in a particularly poignant moment, he is cutting open the door on the farm cage, throwing aside the wire that's holding the farm door shut. Guy, in the meantime, has spent the last several minutes with James, who is still very calmly lying down in the farm cage, feeding him scoops of honey, and she will come around, and with some of that trust that she's started to build with him, the very, very, very beginnings of trust, she will ask him to be brave and to step into our transport cage. The door between the farm cage and our transport cage is now open. I can see Guy is just coming around, and now she's going to quietly talk to James, beautiful new male bear. Now ask him to trust her enough to walk into our transport cage. For those who've just joined us, these three bears were being held illegally on a farm in Namdak province in northeastern Vietnam. Now, the Forest Protection Department confiscated these three bears after they were found without microchips. There was actually originally 4 bears on the farm, and so they rightly, when one passed away, spirited these bears back to the Forest Protection Department, where at least they'd be safe until we could get here. Now, we wanted to come and rescue these guys at the end of March, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic, unfortunately we weren't able to make it. And so today was the earliest we could possibly get here, based on government authorities' directives. So right now we're just waiting for James to build up the courage to set foot into our transport cage, although we all understand that it's the first steps to freedom and that kindness awaits him back at the sanctuary. He has had a life of being taught not to trust people, to be frank, and that people don't necessarily mean good things at all. And so this is the reality of bear bile farming. This is the legacy that it leaves, these broken bears. We might be the first kindness that they've ever known. This is kindness in action. This is real kindness in action. Come on, James. Thank you for your patience while we circled back. Right behind me now we have James, James, our newest male bear in the transport cage. He did eventually load voluntarily. Usually what we use when it comes to asking bears to come into a TC are things that are incredibly delicious, like honey, condensed milk, dried fruit, because they're the things that a bear really wants. You know what the key was with James? The one thing that he wanted more than anything else was water. Water. And I just, to me, that speaks volumes about how little their needs are met when they're on the farm or before they come to our sanctuary. Something as simple as water was enough to entice a bear to come into a transport cage. So I can see the guys are just now about to load the second bear. So let's quietly go down there and we'll watch what's happening. Come on down. Sean, our senior vet, is staying with James the whole time. He's not alone. He won't be alone ever again. So it's a similar process to what happened last time. Tuan BTS is just securing our transport cage to the farm cage to make sure everything is safe. We can't rush this. And in just a moment, Tuan will jump up on top of the transport cage and Guy will come around and encourage the bear to come inside. So for those of you who have just joined the live stream, this morning the Vietnam Bear Rescue Center Animals Asia's rescue team arrived in Namdak province, which is in northeastern Vietnam, to the Forest Protection Department, where they have 3 bears that they confiscated from a bear farm here in Namdak province at the end of March. So we had originally planned and anticipated to rescue the bears at the end of March, but because of the COVID-19 pandemic, we needed to change our plans. As I'm sure everybody at home has experienced the exact same thing, right? Well, our care of the bears also has needed to make some adjustments. And so now we're finally here. This was the quickest we could possibly get to these guys. And their rescue is beginning. So their life so far has not been a fairy tale, not at all. But in the hopes that their future will be everything that they could dream of and more, we've given them 3 names inspired by fairy tale characters. James from James and the Giant Peach, Alice from Alice in Wonderland, and Ban, which is a Vietnamese name, a Vietnamese fairy tale character about the daughter, the princess daughter of the King of Heaven. So Guy's just gathering some treats to be able to give this girl. Now everything we do with these bears is at their own pace. Any days of being forced to do anything, or any days where fear is used as the motivating factor to get the bears to behave in a certain way, are over from this day forward. And everything we do now is asking them to participate voluntarily and using positive reinforcement. And Guy's got a pot of honey and condensed milk diluted with water. And she's using that to gain her trust. maybe use the hose. So like we found with James, what Guy's going to do is she's going to offer Bun some water from the hose. So this is absolutely not, she won't be hosing Bun or pressuring her with a hose whatsoever, not in any way. But what we know from the farms is often these bears get a drink of water from a hose and then they know that when the hose comes on, that's their chance to drink. And so often it's a small bright spot in their day, and we're showing her that she can have as much water as she wants. Hopefully she'll come in. There you go, she's having a nice big drink. Come on girl, be brave. One tentative pour just into the TC there. And again, this is not hosing Bun, not at all. It's just gently offering her water from the hose like she would be used to drinking on the farm. And just gently coaxing her inside. Here she comes. Here she comes. Good girl. So brave. Now the slide is being shut. This is a little bit frightening for her because it's the first time she's been in one of our transport cages. It's okay, my girl. She's safely inside. And so now we'll just quietly roll her to be beside James. We'll check back on this live stream. Keep an eye on our social media pages. We're going to check back in with you every step of the way, and once we have our last bear, Alice, loaded.
So 3 empty cages and 3 bears on the truck to go back to the sanctuary and their home where they'll be there forever. The Alice has some small wounds to her ears, and as far as I can see, that's the only health condition so far. These bears will get a full health check done under general anaesthetic in the next few weeks at the sanctuary. It was great to be able to load them in the TC. As stressful as it was for them, we can manage that stress. Using an anaesthetic in an animal that is that stressed makes our dosing difficult, our risks are much higher, and so working with the bears to get them to load and to get them to choose to come home is the best thing for them. It's always better when we can do it that way. It means back at the sanctuary when we anaesthetise them, we have all of the safety equipment, we have calmer bears, and we can do a much better job working with them. Our team's great at anaesthetics. Our health checks at the rescue are always safe, but it's safer at the sanctuary. Thanks for all your support. We need all the help we can get to look after these guys. Thank you.
We were informed at the end of March there were 4 bears need to be rescued. They came from an illegal farm. They didn't have the microchip at the time. And so we're getting ready to rescue. But because of the corona pandemic outbreak, it was getting bad at the time, we had to delay the rescue. But while we're waiting, one of the bears died. So we asked the local ranger to bring the 3 bears back from the farm to here, where we are today, to make sure that they can be looked after while we're waiting for us to come. And today, although it was a long day to rescue these 3 bears, but the end we managed to get them all on the truck safely. And we'd like to thank the Namdak FPD and also the FPD station for looking after these bears, because they were under really kind of hardship in the last 3 weeks to look after these bears, because they're not used to looking after bears. So overall, it's been a good rescue, and we'd like to thank everyone for helping us today.
Okay, so Sean, Kat and I are in the car and we are following our rescue truck. James and Barn and Alice are right there in front of us and we're just heading off now. So we expect we'll be back at VDRC in around 3 hours time. Hopefully the roads will be kind to us. But I'm really pleased to say that the bears really calmed down and they're enjoying water and banana leaves before we left. So it's the first day of the rest of their lives and the fairy tale begins. We made it home. Alice and Barn and James, Their fairy tale begins right here at BBRC. So the truck is just behind that tree. They're just in the process of turning around. And they're going to pull up to this loading bay and we can watch the bears start their life at the sanctuary, and the first thing will be unloading off the truck. Here they come. Here's our two heroes of the day, Tuan BTS and Guy BTS, instrumental in the rescue of these guys. So for anybody who might just be joining us now, this was a rescue of 3 bears from Namdak province, which is in northeastern Vietnam. Now these bears were confiscated from a farm. They were being illegally housed there, and the Nam Ding Forest Protection Department, or the Rangers Department, confiscated them and wanted us to come and rescue them at the end of March. Now unfortunately, because of COVID-19, we had to delay all of our plans, and today was the first day we could come and get these bears. Here they come. When we bring these bears home, there's electricity in the air. It's palpable. It's palpable when we bring new bears home. The 185 amazing Asiatic black or moon bears and Malayan sun bears here now. So right here at the front of the truck is James. Now you remember, if you watched the live streams earlier today, he was frightened and he was quite stereotypic. Now he's been quite calm in the transport cage. I imagine we might see a little bit of nervous behaviour from him once the men start to undo the transport cage. But otherwise he's been so good, and he's absolutely loved the banana leaves. Now, going with our whole fairy tale theme, James is actually named after James and the Giant Peach, Roald Dahl's famous children's book about a young orphan who climbed into a giant peach and found friendship and sanctuary, and that is exactly what James the bear has found.
Để sát thế á? Xa thế bọn em còn đến đây cái còn quay lòng ở đây chứ? Đấy, cho đồng kia, cho đồng kia. Hả?
Cho sát đoạn đường.
Sát quay đồng như nào?
Xong quay được, mình đẩy đâm luôn. Vọt đánh luôn. Chứ phải quay đầu.
Alright, we're just going to come around so that we can get a really nice view. You can see. So we don't actually know how old James is. We don't know how old any of the 3 bears are, but from our best estimates based on their bodies and what they look like from initial visual examination, they appear to be young bears, possibly 3 years old, but we will know more once we are able to health check these bears for the very first time. At the moment, all 3 bears seem to be in reasonable health, which is really really heartening to see. Reasonable physical health, I should say. I think mentally, of course, this has been a really difficult life for them. I can't help but think all of us right around the world, you and me and the team here at VBRC and your loved ones, we've all been in isolation, and we know firsthand what it's like to have our lives curtailed like that. And these bears have just experienced exactly what you and I have been going through. Even worse, in fact. And it really is a reason to pause and think about what it must have been like for these poor bears. So what's going to happen now is these bears are going to be moved down to quarantine. They'll have a 45-day quarantine here at the sanctuary, and that's to ensure that we can keep our existing population of bears safe, just in case these guys happen to be carrying any illnesses that could be transmissible to our current population of bears. It also gives us time to manage these 3 new bears in a much more intimate way, a much more intensive way, because we'll have them in a smaller area while we learn their behaviors, learn their personalities. They're really, they'll be exquisite individuals and not like any other bear at the entire sanctuary. It'll also give our veterinary team a chance to really thoroughly check them over before we are able to move them out into our big grassy enclosures. The team are just unloading the truck. You can see Kat, our vet nurse, up in the truck there. She's just distracting one of the bears. So you'll see our team, we use lots of really delicious sweet treats. Things like condensed milk and jam is what Kat's got in her little pot of goodness there, just to try and help James stay nice and calm. Now when these guys are down in quarantine, they're going to have a tailored enrichment program. So our senior bear team manager Sarah actually just got done revamping our quarantine enrichment program for brand new bears, and it's really cutting edge stuff. It starts off with simpler enrichment, building up to more and more complex objects and puzzles that the bears need to work through. So it really is a wonderful introduction to sanctuary life, and it really starts to heal the minds and the spirits of these bears. Today, what we want is for these bears to simply be bears. That would be the happiest ending of all. So the guys are just untying the cage there. Hang on, James. I should mention our incredible managing director, James Smiley, shares a name with this bear. We love you, Jim. Okay, he's nearly ready to come out of the truck now. The first bear to roll off the truck into the first day of his very own fairy tale. Just step out of the way so they can roll his cage down safely. Lovely big James, the only male bear in this rescue. There he goes. Hi, handsome boy. Hi. You can see already he's so much calmer than he was at the Forest Protection Department. So Twan Bear Team Supervisor is just unclipping the cage for Barn and Alice. Barn is the transport in the transport cage just here that you can see, and Alice is just at the back of the truck. So Barn has already proven to be a little bit of a water baby. Bye bye, James, and welcome home, love. So Kat's going the way with James now. He'll have his way. You're looking at the front of our veterinary hospital, and just they'll swing him and down this ramp and onto the red trolley here, and they'll spirit him away to quarantine where he'll be 5 days. There he goes. Our 183rd bear here at the Vietnam Bear Rescue Centre. He's being incredibly brave. So you can see he's so much calmer now. You can see how quickly the bears learn that not all people are bad. Some people are earth angels. Oh, he's loving that jam. I think he's got a sweet tooth. There he goes. A nice, calm, quiet ride down to quarantine. Off he goes with Kat and the moving team. That's our team of men who are responsible for the site. Now we'll pop back over to the rescue truck. The team has been here, giving Barn and Alice all sorts of tasty treats. So Barn is having a little bit of a growl. She was a bit grumbly at the Forest Protection Department as well. So Amanda's just giving her some jam there. She's licking it off the spoon. Oh, bless her. So Barn was actually named after a Vietnamese fairy tale. Of course, we're in Vietnam, so homage to our country here. So Barn was actually the princess daughter of the King of Heaven. And it's a very well-loved Vietnamese fairy tale of a princess who spreads love and kindness to everybody. And although she might be a little grumbly now, I think we'll win her around. So with young bears like these three, if they are indeed around 3 years old or 4 years old, we're looking at a lifetime of care. And that lifetime can be another 25 plus years. It's an extraordinary length of time. And we commit to looking after these bears for the rest of their lives. And the most important piece of that whole puzzle is actually you at home. Because Animals Asia wouldn't exist without you, with our supporters and our donors and everybody watching this live stream right now. Without you, we couldn't do what we do, and these bears wouldn't know the love and the kindness that they know. They certainly wouldn't have freedom. So our thanks, our heartfelt thanks to you for all your support. I think it's fair to say it's been difficult these times of COVID-19 and the pandemic. It's been difficult for all charities, and Animals Asia is no exception. We've had to adjust many of our operations and many of the things that we do, and fundraising has definitely been difficult. If you would consider giving as generously as you possibly can to help us ensure that we're here forever for these bears, then I know it'll mean the absolute world to bears like Barn, who is none the wiser and absolutely loving honey on the end of a spoon. This is our bear team manager, Amanda. Both these girls are really calm now. Amanda's just commenting that she might be a little bit of a spoon stealer, which is an affectionate nickname we give to some of the bears who are a little bit cheeky, if I'm honest. They often grab the spoon and might whisk it away into their transport cage if we're not quick enough. Oh, there's a little curious paw popping out the side of the transport cage. I can actually see one of our resident vets, Rach, has just come up. Rach wasn't on the rescue, but hey, what do you think, Rach? This is your second rescue at VBRC, isn't it?
Yeah, so in 2018, I came over to visit from the China Sanctuary. So I worked at the China Sanctuary for the last 2.5 years. Came in 2018 for a few weeks to help out and got to rescue V199 Sky, which was amazing. So to see 3 bears coming back now was incredible. So I've joined the team here permanently as part of helping with the Ending Bear Bile campaign in Vietnam, and to be here for this rescue and know that I get to stay here and see all the next steps, everything that's going to happen for these guys now, all of their rehabilitation, everything that's they've got to look forward to. I wish to tell them right now what they've got in store, because what's going to happen next for them is going to be incredible.
It's going to be a fairy tale.
It's going to be an absolute. And yeah, I've been following here. The team here has been following all day. What the team rescue's been up to, and we've been following them from here. So really, really excited to meet them. I know right now they're all a bit scared and it's quite sad, but they're going to have the most amazing time now. So we're going to check them over soon, see what health issues they've got, and then get them into their enclosures eventually. So it's going to be incredible.
We have the best bear vets in the world. All right, let's look. The team are just in the process of unclipping Bun. Still a little bit of a grumble from our new girl. I think she's entitled to a grumble or two. So you can see all of our men, our moving team here. They're all in quarantine gear. Anybody who wasn't on the rescue has donned light blue scrubs, and that's all our quarantine gear. Here she comes. Hopefully we can get a look at her face. She's very, very pretty. She's a very pretty little bear. Hi, sweet girl. She has quite a creamy coloured muzzle. So hi, one of our veterinary interns is just spraying the wheels of her TC to disinfect it, while Amanda is giving her some sweet treats. Some kind words from Amanda make all the difference. Much better. She's, which way are you going to come, girl? There you go. Oh, it's all right, sweetie. Here she goes. She's got a perfect crescent. It's all right, girl. So just like James, the team are going to whisk her down to quarantine now. There she goes. Amanda will travel with Bun all the way down to quarantine, so she's got a familiar face the whole way down. Again, we don't leave the bears alone, because this is, you know, quite a nervy time for them. So we always make sure that they have somebody there with a pot of something sweet and some kind words. Here she goes. Such a sweet little thing. She's being incredibly brave. She's curiously peering out the side of the transport cage. Amanda just commented that Bun's making a big mess with her sticky treats. It's going everywhere. See you later, little one. And then our last beautiful bear, still waiting patiently on our rescue truck, will be Alice. Chien, our bear team manager, is here. He will be giving her some distractions. So this is Alice, named after Alice in Wonderland, who of course escaped from Wonderland, which wasn't all that it seemed. While we're waiting for Alice to come off the truck, I can actually see our senior veterinary surgeon, Sean, perhaps he could recap some of the health conditions for the bears. Are you free, Sean?
Yeah, so it's great to have them back here. They're all much calmer than what they were at the rescue. They've had some time to learn their new cages, and now they've been into quarantine area and they have to hand sanitize. But the only major concern, well, minor concern we've seen at the moment is Alice has some little lesions on her ears. My suspicion from how she would posture by standing up in the cage, and she's just rubbed them on the top. They'll be addressing her health check, but probably with the good enrichment, the nutrition, all the good things that they get here, there's a good chance they will have disappeared by the time we get to that health check. The other two, Bun and James.
It's been a long day. It's been a long day.
They don't have anything externally to be concerned about at the moment. They'll be monitored a lot. You may have seen in any of the bears passing diarrhea. Could be a little bit of stress, could be a little bit of nutrition. They'll settle down, and we'll monitor that. But usually, good nutrition, getting some pumpkin, those good vegetables, carrots, sweet potatoes. They'll firm up in no time, and life will be good for those little bears.
Thank you so much, Sean. I was just saying to Rach, we have the best bear vets in the world. While we're waiting, may I show you all little Kaz down here in one of our enclosures? Are you the welcoming committee, darling? Kaz is our smallest moon bear on site. She's an adult, but she is very, very small. She's just so tiny, and she's being a right sticky beak. Yeah, you are. You're a good girl. She is welcoming the new bears home, and all of this awaits them. Absolute paradise. So it won't be too much longer now before we take our very last bear down. Actually, Kat, do you want to say hello?
Hi guys! Yeah, I actually just wanted to say a massive thank you to everyone out there and at home for all that you are doing for our bears. We really couldn't do this work without you, and to know that you're on the other side of that camera and computer watching us really actually helps us morally, spiritually, and to get these guys home in record time. So thank you so much, and we can't wait to show you their progress. So bye!
Thanks, Kat. Thank you so much. We have such an amazing team here. Amazing people and amazing bears. It makes for paradise. Now, Alice is quite quiet at the back of the truck. I don't want to go into too much further because I don't want her to feel cornered. So I think we'll just stay out here. Perhaps I can just pan out a little bit and just show you a little bit of what awaits these bears once they've finished quarantine. This is part of our sanctuary. You can see how divine it is. We have a river running right through the middle of the sanctuary and these gorgeous blue hills that we're kind of nestled in amongst. And then we have large semi-naturalistic enclosures. You can see where Kaz was, all of these amazing structures which are designed to encourage bears to play and to forage, to climb and to stretch, and just be bears, because at the end of the day, that's what we want. We just want the bears to be bears. And yeah, she really is.
She's ready to make new friends.
She really is. Okay. Won't be too much longer. So let me just come back for a moment and just reiterate what Kat said. The fact that we have people right around the world watching us, I mean, really, we are a steward for your bears. These aren't our bears, they're yours. And we are looking after them for you. I always think it is almost like we are your eyes and your hands here, looking after your bears. And without you, none of this can possibly happen. And so if you could find it within your heart to become a regular donor, that's what we need more than anything. Regular donors to support our work alongside the most incredible army of donors we already have. We have the most loyal supporters right around the world who we would be lost without, and perhaps those of you who aren't yet part of our family would consider joining. We would love you to be part of this magic. Alright, I think I can hear the team just coming back, which means Alice will be ready to go down to quarantine. Here we go. So Chian's just going to distract Alice again. And Bear Team Supervisor Tuan, who was on the rescue, will unclip her cage. Ooh, a little bit of a grumble. I think it's so perfectly understandable that these bears might be uncertain about what's going on. Of course, we have to expect that's the way it is, right? But we also know with love and time and patience, we bring them around every time. Every time. She is.
I love her. I love her already.
Here come our moving team. There you go. She's being incredibly brave. So tonight these bears will get the most incredible feast. There'll be tomatoes and pumpkin, dried dog biscuits, apples, cabbage, all sorts of good stuff. Even some crunchy carrots, which, to be honest, if you ask some bears, carrots aren't the best things in the world, but everybody has to eat their veggies. So, Bear Team Manager Chian's just really quietly talking to Alice. And the guys are unclipping her cage. Oh, it's all right, Alice. That was a little bit of a roar because she was frightened. Something frightened her. But she still came straight back to lick honey and jam and condensed milk off a spoon. She'll be okay. Hello, beautiful, beautiful Alice, and welcome to what will be the most amazing wonderland for you. She's so little. For those of you who remember Sugar and Spice, she looks a very similar size to Sugar and Spice. So already we've been wondering whether or not she might be a suitable companion for those two girls and Scooby, another very small bear that we have here at the sanctuary. She's a little frightened, she's growling. Be alright, darling. Here she goes. Bye, darling. So Chien will be Alice's partner, and he will go down to quarantine with her, be with her every step of the way. Now Sarah, our senior bear team manager, and here, one of our other bear team supervisors, are down there to receive each bear and make sure that they get settled in for the night with a lovely soft bed and lots of fresh fruit and veggies. She goes. She loves that condensed milk. So hopefully this is going to be a fairy tale beginning for these 3 new bears, and if I'm frank, a happily ever after. We certainly intend it to be just that. The next 25 years of care we're looking at for these bears. Please, it takes a lot of love and a lot of time and a lot of money to rescue these bears. Give generously and be part of the movement around the world that's rescuing these bears and giving them what they deserve, a chance to be bears. Thank you.